All right, what else? I'm just like rolling. I'm just like recording, rolling.
Welcome to Mouthful with Marissa Pitts. Please take a moment to love, like, and subscribe right now. Today's guest on Mouthful is writer, director, and producer of Babyfoot, Tim Venable. And Babyfoot is fresh off of its Broadway production premiere, is having its West Coast premiere tomorrow night, October 14th at the Rogue Machine Theater in Los Angeles, and is starring Hope Lauren as Alexis, Daniel Dorr, and Paul DeBoy. All right, let's go ahead and bring you in, Tim. Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, Marissa.
Hi, thank you. I
Okay.
can hear you. Last week I had some had some audio issues, so glad we can hear each other now. Perfect. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I do. I have
Oh,
to. I have to make a correction. Although
oh yeah.
I would have loved to have had a Broadway production of the play,
Oh, off
or
Broadway.
off Broadway. I would say
Oh,
technically.
off Broadway. Okay, one
Yeah.
more off.
Yeah. But here we are on the
All
West
right.
Coast at Rogue Machine Theater on Melrose Avenue, and super excited. Just had our first preview last night, which went beautifully. And yeah, super grateful to be back home. Los Angeles
Yeah.
is home, and Rogue Machine Theater is my artistic home. And yeah, it's I'm beyond grateful and proud. It's an amazing cast. Yeah, like you said, Hope Lauren is playing Alexis, Daniel Dorr is playing Blackie, and Paul DeBoy is Fred.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a three cast play. And I was looking over at your reviews that you had from New York. And one of them that really stuck out to me was from Theater Scene. And they wrote Babyfoot effectively deals with psychologically and emotionally heavy topics in a thought provoking way without being overly dark. It has moments of humor within the series drama, but ultimately provides a sense of hope and fulfillment. So, what is the premise of Babyfoot?
That's great. Well, I don't know if I've actually have I read that review. I'm not sure. I
I
have.
don't know. It's out there, and I mean,
Yeah.
it went deep. This guy loved you. It loved
Yeah.
the play. It had.
Good.
I'll send you the review. It's
Yeah. Please text it
really
to me.
good. I will send it to you.
I thought I saw. I thought I saw what we got reviewed. Anyway, yeah. So Alexis is leaving drug rehab after 90 days of treatment the following morning, and Blackie is there on his first night, and so they meet and they spend the night in the rehab. It takes place in the recreation room of a drug rehab in outside of Portland, Oregon. And the third character, Fred, is a handyman janitor who's been working there for decades and got clean there 30 years ago. And yeah, without giving too much away, the way I've described it in the past has been sort of before sunrise meets Girl Interrupted. So kind of a love story set, an unconventional love story set in a drug rehab.
Okay, nice. Ooh, I'm
Yeah.
so excited to this. I will be seeing this Sunday. Very, very, very excited. Anytime. I met you, years ago down at Southern Shakespeare and Company in Lenox,
Yeah.
Massachusetts. And even just seeing your work as an actor, as a human, and now seeing you out here and writing and directing, it is so exciting. But for this story, like, what made you want to tell this story specifically?
Well, I've been writing for a long time, and over the pandemic, a lot of the acting stuff went away, and that was when the doors really started to open for me as a writer, in unexpected ways. I didn't, it wasn't something I necessarily set out to do. I mean, I'd written a couple screenplays, some short plays, but it was really when uh, during the shutdown that it was like I didn't know where my life was as an actor, and I was kind of uh, going back and forth with that, and then had some ideas, and as it progressed, I'm coming up in I've been sober for 19 years from drugs and alcohol myself.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
March will be 20, God willing, and
Okay.
But it wasn't like I set out to tell a recovery story necessarily. It really was the premise, like I said, about like Richard Linklater has been a big influence on me as a young artist, particularly the Before Sunrise films and Dazed and Confused. And what I really love about what those films do is the sort of the non-drama of things that happen over time. You know, Before Sunrise takes place over one night. Dazed and Confused starts in the afternoon and ends up in the next morning. And I really love that kind of like that sense of contained time and what can happen with that. And I had this thought of a young woman who's leaving rehab after 90 days. Like I said, I've been sober for a long time. I haven't experienced rehab myself, but I've been very, very close with people in my life in recovery and sobriety who have been through rehab. And so I just had this kind of what felt like a cool idea, like young woman is leaving rehab after 90 days, and a guy is there on his first night, and they sort of have a Before Sunrise kind of story, and kind of went from there. And as it progressed over the last year and a half, working with Daniel and Hope on the play, we did a reading in LA last year, and then we went to New York, and I produced and directed it there with Paul as Fred, and it really started to develop more and more into this kind of love story, but also a story about like what addiction is and what the possibility of hope can be, without it being a sort of like, and I think that was a really beautiful review, and I've gotten a response from a lot of people that it's not some kind of like, you know what I mean, like a story about like a
Just
pro
the dark side, just the
dark
addiction.
side,
Yeah.
or like you know, the stories that we've seen, just the kind of sentimental stories that we've seen 100 times about like, you know,
love conquers all.
love conquers all, salvation.
You're fine now. Look we healed.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is the way. It's like, no, my experience has been very nuanced and complex in my own recovery, and I find that in the characters and their performances that there's no real one answer or sort of things. It's kind of this dual sort of experience between a man and a woman, ultimately, that it's not easy and that there's a lot of work to do, and that you're not, you know, you have to do the work. And but it's also very fun and very sexy. And last night's audience was a real testament to that, where it felt like a lot of laughs in spite of the potential of the darkness of it. But it's just very human and complex. But that there's ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that if this is something that anyone is struggling with, whether it's drugs or alcohol or anything else, is that there's hope and there's people who want to help, and that it's my personal, it's my purpose to extend the hand of recovery to anyone who is trying to get clean.
And talking about recovery, last week I had my father, Rex Pixon, who is 22 years sober, NA speaker, motivational, and sponsor also. And you know, I asked him this question: what do you lean on when things are rough? And that thought, that idea of just going back and using, right? What programs or what tools do you use to keep sober?
Yeah. That's a really beautiful question. You know, there's a tradition in 12-step recovery of anonymity, which I really honor and respect. My personal experience, this is only coming from my personal experience. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. No, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. My video is a little weird, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I can hear you perfect.
My personal experience is where I walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and have been sober in recovery, in 12-step recovery for 19 years through
It's yeah, it's okay. Oh, I can hear you. Can I hear you? Talk. Oh, I can hear you. No? Okay. Well, thank you. Oh, I can hear you. Tim, I know you can hear me. All right. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate you so much coming in. We will turn around. I'll have all the information out here on the road. Get that going. So thank you all very much, Tim. I really appreciate you coming in on the show. Sorry about the technical difficulties. This happens. I love to bring you back in the future. Definitely talk about the experience, how it was, and everything. But please stay tuned. There is more left on the Marissa Pitts Show.